Hello, hello, hello. We are back. Triggered AF, the podcast, season 5. Listen, if you have not noticed, we are getting all up in everybody's business. We are tapping into all the things that trigger us, whether it's around money or whether it's around freedom or whether it's around the work that we do. We literally are going all the way in, acknowledging and deciphering what is triggering us, and we are bringing some phenomenal guests to talk through how not only they have overcome some pretty interesting challenges, but how they are building and creating and literally changing the game for not only themselves, but also for others. And so this week, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful.
I'm so happy to have you here with us. I want to introduce everyone to Roshawnna Novellus. She is, first of all, wears all the hats. I mean, all the hats is brilliance, but is incredibly meek, because I don't believe in being humble, or however you guys want to decide that you're going to pronounce it, with the H or without the H. I don't believe in that, because by definition, it means low in rank. It could absolutely be meek, but to me, humility in the way in which we use it in the States means that you are lower, or pretend you're lower than what you really are. So I don't believe in that. However, she is the founder of a FinTech company that is literally changing the game. And now you wear all the hats. Like I said, from a doctor of computer engineering and finance to a FinTech founder, to an author and a lender. There are so many hats that you wear and so many roles and so much responsibility, but who is it that you say you are?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this amazing show.
Welcome.
Yes. And I just think that each one of us needs to show up authentically as we are. Mm-hmm. And none of us are only one thing. We all have many interests, many layers about us. And I think that all the things that you mentioned are just parts of me. Okay. But first and foremost, I'm just a person who is on this planet trying to be happy, trying to give others access to their dreams. And I'm a firm believer in economic power. So most of the decisions that I make are in order to not only give myself the most economic power possible, but also empower others with the economic power as well.
I love that. Especially the whole, it's not just about you.
Right.
Because many times we can kind of get caught up in like, no, me, mine, and no more.
Right.
And it's like, well, what does it look like to look outside of what you've got going on? So, okay, as I learn, each one teach one.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. And something about, especially when you wear a lot of hats, and I know that you've built multiple businesses at this point. So a lot of times people see the glitz and the glamour of owning businesses, of being a doctor. Like they feel like, oh my gosh, she's so accomplished, but they don't sometimes see, or they don't think about the real internal work and some of the struggles that you may have had to go through. So I want to start with that, because I think it's easy to romanticize and glamorize titles and accolades, but a lot of people don't talk about like the internal work and the hardships and the things that come along with that. So what has that part of your journey been like when it comes to accomplishing all these things, but also working on yourself and trying to make sure that you can handle it, right? And you can deal with the pressure that comes with all the things that you've accomplished?
I think this is a really great question. I'm in this fitness competition right now.
Are you? And, yes. Like bodybuilding kind of, or like
not bodybuilding. I still want to look fine.
Okay.
So there's levels to it, but it's like, working out and your diet and the whole package. And the creator talks about the first couple weeks anyone does anything is just motivation, but motivation dies down.
It
dies down. But after that is your consistency, your persistence, your determination and the like. And that's really what separates people.
Absolutely.
So school was always easy for me. I loved school. I was valedictorian in high school. Oh, wow. In undergrad, I got 2 degrees in 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And my doctorate, that was a challenge because a member of my committee was like, Roshawnna, you're not humble. So it's interesting that you said this.
And I didn't know that.
Because I'm kind of an intellectual snob a little bit. And so it took me an extra year to get my doctorate because this guy on my committee said, I'm not going to approve you because you didn't reference any of my research. And I said, your research has nothing to do with my work, so why would I reference it in my dissertation? And my advisor said, Roshawnna, do you want to do it the easy way or the hard way? The easy way would just be to like give in, add it. And I was like, no, like if I had anything to do with his work, I would have included it, but I didn't. And so at the end of the day, I did all this extra work, ended up including him. And he was like, you know what? You just don't deserve to have a doctorate. So I would never approve you. Gosh. And
what?
It's just all these things happened after that, but eventually I ended up going to the chair of the department. Yeah. He read my work, is like, you have the best dissertation in the department. He let that guy go from my committee. Yeah. Assigned a visiting professor. 3 weeks later, I defended my dissertation and qualified for my doctorate.
Okay. A whole year extra because of his ego?
Because of his ego. So this was an area, I was young. I was working full time, so I already had the money piece. So, and I told my advisor, I don't even care. If y'all don't want to let me graduate, I'm going to move on. This is just something that I decided to do at a young age. And I always finish what I started. Yes. And so I knew at this point that no one could make me stop if it's just a process. I didn't care what the dude said. Yeah. I didn't care his opinion of me. But if it's like, here's a process, I know how to finish it. And the same thing applies in entrepreneurship. If let's say you're starting a new like Instagram profile. When you first start, you have 0 followers. It can take like a year to get 5,000, 1,000, depending on what your error is. Yeah. Then after that, it snowballs. But if you quit, you'll never get to that point. Yeah. So that's where all the glam is. It's like people who have been able to hone their inner determination, their inner consistency, they're able to just let go and pose for the camera.
Okay.
Yes. It's literally understanding like, hey, this is just a process. This is literally a part of the game. Right. We play the game. We understand like, hey, at the end of this process, there is something next and something new. We'll get to the next thing. Right. But focusing on how hard it is or you could have focused on his ego. Oh my God, woe is me. He doesn't want to give me whatever it is. And it's just like, you're one thing in this flow of life that's going to happen to me. When you're finished, I'll move on to the next. Right.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll feel like we're not even deserving. Like we'll feel like that behavior, like his behavior is just confirming not feeling worthy or deserving enough. Like sometimes somebody will do something to you and it'll be like, okay, well that's what's supposed to happen to me because I didn't deserve this anyway. So kudos to you for like pushing through. Like, no, I'm working really hard. Like there has to be another avenue. And I think that's another thing that was an obvious sign that you weren't entrepreneurs because that's what entrepreneurs do. You find a way. When there is no way, you make a way, you figure out a way, and you have to constantly do that. And that's a big part of the dynamic of entrepreneurship is figuring it out even when it seems like there isn't a solution.
Correct. Yeah, and I truly do feel like you're the embodiment of one of my favorite phrases is that I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. And literally what you did is if you won't act right, okay, I'll just go to your boss. Right. But somebody finna get me what I've worked hard for this.
Or I walk away and I'm fine with it.
Oh, and that's
which one? One or the other.
But I do like that energy that you're not going to force me into just accepting. And if you feel as though you're going to force something on me, I'll just let you have it because clearly that's what you need. Right. Like you need that. Mm-hmm. In order for you to feel okay or feel better, you need to feel as though you won. Fine. But how do you harness that mindset and that energy? Because everybody don't have it. Like to do things and to be okay with doing it differently. Like how? I need some steps.
I think a lot of us always are immersed in the noise of people's opinion of what other people are doing. And now with social media, and I think it's really important to practice mindfulness strategies so that you know who you are and what's important to you. Yeah. So about 8 years ago, I ended up moving to Thailand for a while to study yoga in the mountains, and there was no heat or hot water. And I had this epiphany that I had everything that I needed.
Okay.
And it was my intelligence, who I am, and then my passion for the world. And I journaled so much, like, who am I? What is my contribution to society?
Yes.
And I knew firmly who I was. So if you know who you are, no one can ever take that from you. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter if it's a bad day or a bad season. Like, you are you.
Yes.
And that's not going to change. So
Absolutely.
you have to have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like removing the noise. Just removing other people's opinion or judgment or even some circle sometimes. Because I'm like, man, if I go here, this energy is not going to be helpful for me.
Yeah.
So,
see, that's something that I need to learn. Like, how do I know this won't be helpful. If I want this outcome, I cannot tap into this energy because it will not produce that.
Yeah.
But you know how much self-control that takes?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
You won't have as many friends.
Yeah, it can feel isolating, right?
Yeah.
It gets like a little lonely and you just like, damn, like everybody's out here doing all the things and I'm just here trying to do the inner work and do my yoga and breathing techniques. And it's like, it doesn't feel fun all the time in the moment.
Right.
But as time goes on, and I probably say this on every podcast, but a tree by the fruit it bears.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's taking that season or taking that year sometimes to just kind of work on you and figure you out so that when you are stepping out into the world, you can show up better. You can show up as a higher version of yourself, because it's definitely just not fun while you're trying to do all the things. And I know that we call this episode, like changing the game, because of just how you have just stepped into spaces where people don't look like you and decided that you were just going to flip it, switch it, turn it around and do something different. So it's like, how did you kind of build up your confidence? Like, aside from tuning out the noise, right? To kind of be like, okay, this is how I'm going to be. What was the motivation to not only learn the game, right? And that's in a finance sector and all the sectors that you stepped into. What motivated you to be like, okay, this is the game. I'm going to learn the rules. I'm going to figure it out, right? Because a lot of people like to hate the players, hate the game, and then it makes them shy away from even trying. You were like, okay, no, I see the players. I see the game. How can I get in here and reinvent and do my own thing? So what was your motivation for that aspect, to have the confidence to step into those spaces?
So I've always been a super confident person.
Really? Do you feel like you were just born like that?
Well, no. So I've always been an introvert. That's why people say I'm quiet. So I'm an introvert, but I've always believed that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And my mother always told me that you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm preparing you for the ability to be a CEO and to make your own decisions.
Even when you were a child, she told you that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
When we were talking earlier, my mother took me to investment club starting at 12. And I used to start giving investment recommendations to adults. And she made me take modeling classes at a young age, because she told me, if you ever feel like you don't deserve it to be in a space or you're nervous, walk like a model. See how much power you have. And it works to this day. If you walk a certain way, people are drawn to you.
Yes.
And so I had all of these strategies put in place from a very young age.
Wow.
And so I never really had that imposter syndrome that is like pushed down women and pushed down us Black people all the time. I always just like, what is people's problem? Why are they offended that I'm smart? Why are they offended that I did a better job than them? So it took me like a while to understand what jealousy and bias and racism means, because I didn't know that people acted that way. I had no idea. So it took me a really long time to understand when, let's say, I wasn't selected for an opportunity, or I didn't get the best grade when I did the best project. I didn't understand why. So I'm like, what
is happening?
What is happening?
Yeah.
And slowly but surely it arose.
Was that a shock for you though? Like a shock to your nervous system? Like, I'm confused.
I was confused, and some of the stuff was shielded. Like when I was valedictorian, they wanted to remove the title from high school. My mother never told me, and she got the NAACP to come to say they're going to protest on the campus unless I was named. And so she did all this work.
Wait, they wanted to completely remove the valedictorian?
They're like, what is this title? Should anyone be like number one in this society? They were trying to switch it because I was the first Black woman to ever be named valedictorian. So they issued a policy, and my mother was not having it. So she
that's
did
so
all of this work, but she never told me. So she told me like 5 years later. But I was like, I won. I couldn't believe it. But she did a lot of work to make sure
I need to meet
that I have
your
this
mom
authentic
sounds like that girl.
And so that's the confidence side. But to the other part of your question, there are so many gaps.
Yes.
I found it enricher because there are so many amazing women who have great businesses, great products, who don't have the capital to grow, to hire employees.
Yeah.
And it's like an obvious gap. It's obvious that only looking at financial ratios or only using the strategies that banks use are exclusionary for us.
Yes.
And so I have always just gone after like solutions that'll help others in the whole economic empowerment place.
I like that too. So, and I always think, because I am raising a child, a girl child, a Black girl child.
Yeah.
And for me, so I'm harnessing the same energy that your mama is, your mama harnessed and applied.
Right.
It's no, I need you to be able to operate around and in certain, you know, arenas. I need you to feel confident, to whether they are children or adults, to be able to feel as though not only do you have something intelligent to say, but that you can take your thoughts and ideas and, you know, express those in ways that are positive. Like, I want you to be confident in who you are and learn the things that you're not supposed to know. But I hadn't thought about the modeling classes. I'm going to go ahead and look into that.
Yep.
Because that building of confidence.
I still sit like,
I see
the modeling stuff.
Each time
definitely works.
I'm like, dang, how do I do it? Because eventually I go back to this.
Nope.
Like, I feel so comfortable here. And I noticed, I even
you always sit like, powerful, always stand powerful.
Yeah. Like that. That's how you
y'all get me together. Every time y'all see me slouch, I need y'all to be like, excuse me. Just be like, model. And I'm just like, okay.
Because you know I was getting an A, you know.
Listen.
So I was like, what do I have to do?
I see. But you know what, though? That is funny. That intentionality, though. Mm-hmm. I always say, I am not a gentle parent. I don't know how to be. Eventually, I'm going to be rough. I am not a gentle parent. Mm-hmm. But I'm absolutely an intentional parent. And it sounds like that's what your mother was, and that, okay, so this is the issue we have. Not a problem. Let me go ahead and call. I need to call. Mm-hmm. Because what you're not going to do is take it from my child because you feel as though you don't have, or she doesn't deserve, because of your bias. That's not what it is.
Yeah. And
so for me, though, we all know, and you literally have built a business around the fact, like, there is no growth without capital. Right. There isn't. And you've done so much, putting yourself in a place of service where it's, yes, you want to help. Yes, you want to give back. Yes, you want to make sure that you are giving to others. But then how are you also refilling your own cup so that you aren't always pouring from an empty place and space?
It's definitely a balance to be of service to others. Oftentimes when the business owners that we've helped tell me that we've changed their life or they stayed in business because of me, it like fuels me. Like that passion, that joy, it just explodes. But I think as entrepreneurs, as just people, we need to have that self-care. Like you said, that fuel. One of my favorite things is going hiking. Yes. And you know, I went hiking today and yesterday, so over 10 miles in the last day.
Whoa! Okay.
And I'm supposed to join her.
She don't want to wake up early.
Please
but,
take her with you. Take her with you, child.
It's so early.
It is so early.
Like, how early?
I'll be up at 5:45.
Oh my God. Do you go by yourself?
No, I'm in a hiking group.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm just trying to make it, y'all. Pray my strength.
I wish. I said that to her. I was like, I always forget that Atlanta is Georgia is like a place where you can hike. I live in Miami.
Okay.
It's flat as can be. And hiking is just like, you know, you have like a trail. And it's
there's so many trails.
But I just but it's like through mountains and through all the things, and we don't have that. We don't have that. So I was like, so now that I know this, I definitely the next time I come would love to go hiking. Okay, I'm gonna make sure she comes.
You just have to get up and do it once you're there. It's like
I will get up.
Yeah, it helps you be in the present moment. Like this morning, we were hiking around a lake and in the mountain. It was just so gorgeous.
It's so perfect.
So gorgeous.
And being in connection with nature in that way, the way it it recalibrates your system, the way it calms your nervous system is like no medicine on earth can do what nature can do for us. So
Exactly.
It's like, I'm here for that. So we going.
Yeah,
I want to go. I like to hike. It's just
real crazy.
Early.
So those people who say you need to like work every hour that you're awake, that's bogus. You have to have time for yourself.
Yeah.
And do the things that bring you back to the present moment, make you happy, get you those endorphins. So whatever, do all of these things. You need to focus on that. And so I definitely make sure that's a priority in my life.
So is hiking the primary, the only thing, or what else?
No, I think just quality time with people you care about.
Yes.
You know,
Community is a big one for
Yeah.
everyone.
It's
I think
huge.
I'm so happy that I think COVID kind of reminded us just how important community is when it was kind of snatched from us.
Yes.
And we was like, oh my God, I don't hate people as much as I thought I did. It's like, I miss this person. I miss that person.
Yeah.
I want to like interact with humans again. And it was just like, we took it for granted to the point where we're all like, I don't want to be around anybody. And it was like, no, I need to be around people.
I need to be
introvert, extrovert, doesn't matter. It's like you need your people. And introvert just means like you're a little more selective. You like some intimacy in your gatherings, right? So I love to hear everyone. I think just about everyone on the podcast, when we ask them about filling their cups or kind of staying, how they kind of recharge and stuff like that, always somewhere in there they talk about their tribe, their community, the people that help, continue to lift them up. So I'm always here for that. It's absolutely necessary. So when it seems like for someone like you, who you've accomplished so much, like what do you feel like is next? Like what's on the horizon? Like what else do you want to do? Because sometimes people can feel kind of like they hit a plateau when they've done a lot of things and they're just like, okay, I'm in this space. Now what? Right? I've checked all the boxes. How do you move to a space where you kind of stay curious and you stay like interested in doing new things when you feel like you have accomplished a lot of the things you set out to accomplish?
I'm like, are you reading my mind? Because
I do that. I do that.
She does that. It's wild. I just be like, oh my God, get out of my mind.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that you always have to feel like you need to accomplish more or do more. So I'm in the place where I'm like feeling that. I feel like I've accomplished so much that I deserve to have a little bit of an easier go at it.
Okay, right? Soft life you.
A soft life. And I'm focused on my work being at a more amplified or multiplied level. So I don't have to do as much. So I'm navigating through that. And I'm just very grateful that everything that I have accomplished is affording me this opportunity.
Yeah. So it is so instead of people, because like you said, you don't feel like you always have to accomplish. It's so important to kind of hear that for people who like to accomplish or overachievers, because it's just like you get to a space where you're just like, okay, who am I when I'm not achieving, right? And it's like, let me just sit with myself, and it's about pivoting sometimes, or just finding out new things you like to do for fun, right? Or
and this is really important. When I was younger, I was one of those I'll be happy when people. So nothing was ever enough. So I would get an award, not feel anything about it, like, oh, I need to get this, I need to get that. So the target was always moving, and I was never like good. So I think it's important to take times where you're good. You're grateful. You don't need to be identified or recognized for, because what if they took all those things and threw them away? There's no more lists, no more magazines,
no more
none
30
of that.
under,
like,
40 under,
none of that.
just
Nobody.
Everything's gone.
No galas presenting people with anything.
Like,
would you still be fulfilled and content as a being? And I know I can say yes. And so,
but that's something that, especially with entrepreneurs or even honestly overachieving women, I can't speak from a man's point of view because I've never been a man. But when you get to that point in place, it's just like you realize, yo, this really isn't it. Like, you be shocked and surprised, and you be like, I am confusion. I have done all these things thinking that this was going to make me feel happy, and this would make me feel whole, and this was it, and you get it, and it's just like, well, golly. I feel nothing, or I feel just as miserable as I felt. Like I say it all the time. However the journey feels, that's how the destination will feel. if on the journey you were miserable, you were like, oh no, gotta get to the next thing, gotta get to the next thing. Every single time you hit whatever the marker is and like, woo, I've made it, it doesn't make you feel any better. Right. And so then you keep going back to the drawing board, like you said, that moving target, until you're finally just like, well, what now? Because eventually you out-achieve and out-accomplish, and you're like, well, golly.
You lap yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, and then you don't even know. You're in a list. You're like, I didn't even know I was in that list.
Whatever. It's true. Well, I guess this was okay. Yeah. All right, fine. I love the fact, though, too, it's getting back to who am I outside of all of this?
Yeah.
Like in my coaching program, our first month is a 12-month program. And in our first month, it's literally called introspection. Because I need you to, in the first lesson that I have them do is to define themselves outside of your roles, outside of your accolades, outside of the title that you hold in your job. Because your title is for rent. Yeah. At any given moment, that job can decide, okay, thank you so much for your service.
Right.
The door, we're going to change the lock after you leave it.
Right.
But thank you for all the time, energy, and effort you spent. And for a lot of people, and this is in sports too, because I've worked with a number of sports folks. Yeah. When their careers end, they literally feel like their life is over. Right. And it's like, but who are you outside of what you do? Mm-hmm. What does that look like? How do we get to the point and place and space? And how would you suggest we get to the point and place and space where we're defining ourselves by who we are and not what we do?
Think about what you like. You know, is it your community? Is it hiking? Is it you love to cook? You know, you like to try new dishes. Yeah. And think about how it feels. Everything in life that we want is because we think we're going to feel a certain way. Right?
Ooh. So true.
So we want to feel relaxed. We want to feel stable. We want to feel secure. We want to feel loved. We want to feel at peace. Yeah. And then think about all of the things that make you feel that way. Mm-hmm. You'll be surprised. It could be just going outside right now.
No.
And your feet
walk. Yeah. Or walking barefoot or whatever. Getting your nails done. Whatever it is. Yeah. And once you take inventory of these things, you realize it's not that award. Sometimes these things are more important than the award.
Yeah.
It makes you feel way better.
Exactly. Because it touches a piece of you that, oh, I didn't even know I needed this piece touched. Yeah. Or I didn't even know that I needed this part, like to be recognized or to feel whole or to feel better. Yeah. Like I didn't know I needed it. Yeah. And then to finally get it is just like, well, okay. Yeah. Okay.
It opens up a bunch of doors. It opens up a different side of yourself where you can start elevating and feeling good while you're accomplishing and not feeling like it's so much of your identity. It's just like, it's a very different existence and where things just don't matter as much. And this is not that serious. You take yourself way less seriously. It's just like, oh, who cares? Like, whatever. You can be yourself. You don't have to hide parts of yourself because you feel like that's not going to match up with who people think you are in the public eye and things like that. So I just love this. Thank you so much for sharing this with us because we do a big part of our audience are people who are accomplished, are people who are go-getters, are women who are doctors and lawyers. And like, those are the people in our DMs, like, oh, can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? And it's just important to kind of see people who are on paths that they are on or want to be on, kind of give them a perspective of really what it can look like. And that there is a path to doing all the things. Because now I feel like we kind of go from one extreme to the next. It's like we went from like hustler culture to soft life. Right. And it's just like we just I know it's just we're all on this journey to figure it out. And that does sometimes require you to go from different extremes because you're trying to test out to see what you like. Right. So I love it's like you can like do all the things and have it's and like let's start saying and it's not like no more working, like I don't want to work anymore. It's just like, but how are you gonna eat? Right. How are you gonna feed your babies?
Where are your coins?
Yeah, we gonna like sleeping outside. Like, can we do a little bit of work? Right. You know what I mean?
We don't gotta do all the work, but we need a little something.
Right. I think, like I said, we go from one extreme to the next. So it's nice to hear a reined-in approach of, hey, I have to work to do these things, but there is a side that has to kind of figure out who I am, what I like, what I'm trying to do so that I can show up and change the game, so I can show up and serve other people. Because if your cup isn't full, you can do it, but it's just going to feel miserable and you're going to feel empty and you're going to go home and cry about all the wonderful things you've done. It's like, who wants to live like that? It's like, I'm happy that narrative is changing so much. So thank you so much for sharing. Where can we stay connected? Where can people learn more about you? What are all the social media things? Please spill the tea so people can know, child.
Well, I'm the only person in the world with my name, so I'm pretty easy to find on social media, on LinkedIn, Roshawnna. And then you can look up Enricher at enricher.com.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And you can stay connected with me all over Beyonce, Rihanna's, and also eventually Alicia Reese's internet. It's at Alicia Reese everywhere, literally on almost all the platforms. And you can also, if you want to join or become a part of my community and my tribe that shows folks how to build lives that not only look good but feel good, you can join us at tribe.fatvaluenation.com. Danny?
You can stay connected with Triggered, the podcast at Triggered AFPC on Instagram. You can go to triggeredafpodcast.com where you can sign up for our newsletter. You can watch little episodes, little snippets, all the things. We also are launching we've launched Triggered events, Triggered AF events, because we're coming to a city near you where we can heal through play, and we want you there. We want to take this a step further. Our podcast is just a seed. We want to see how we can nourish so that we can grow and we can heal and do it together as a community. So go to triggeredafevents.com and keep an eye out for when we're going to be in your city, child, okay? And if you want to stay connected with me, I'm at the Danny Bordeaux. Bordeaux is BOURDEAU, and you can book a wellness session with me at DannyFosterCoaching.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. Share with your mama, share with your sisters, share with everybody that you know who is achieving all the things but just needs a little bit of perspective. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.